G'day guys, Chris here from Vo-Gus Prospecting. If you're new to the channel, welcome, and if you're an old hat that costs 50 cents from the op shop like this one, welcome back to Season 1, Episode 4. Today we're going back to basics. I'm going to show you guys how to use a metal gold pan from seasoning to panning with it on a brand new creek that I've never set foot on that my research indicates could have some good gold. The first step we've got to do is get a fire going so we can season this metal gold pan. And then I'm going to talk to you about the importance of seasoning a gold pan, and I've got some special dirt to work before we go anywhere. If you're a long-time follower of my channel, you'll probably be very aware that I've got a very healthy respect for fires. So a couple of foreknotes for all of you young adventurers out there is that if you are going to make a fire, make sure it's not a total fire ban. Do it in a safe place. I'm doing it on bedrock in an old campfire site. Make sure that you don't cover your fires after you put them out with sand or anything, just in case someone comes along and walks on it, because the ground can retain heat for days and you can really burn someone. Make sure you put it out with more water than you think is necessary. If you think that you've put enough water on it, go and put a few more buckets on it, because I'll guarantee you the heat in that ground will easily boil that water away after some time. So, yeah, be safe, be respectful of it. Seasoning metal pans, why do we do it? Well, it's quite simple. The first thing that we want to really get rid of is the residue that's left from its forming. It's basically a lubricant, and you don't want oil in your pan. That would be a disastrous thing. The second thing is, my subscriber told me that his dad heats the pan until he sees the metal turn blue. Now, from a metallurgy standpoint, and I don't know terribly much about this, but basic understanding is that by heating a pan and letting it either harmonize, which is come back down to ambient air temperature on its own, or quenching it, you change the grain structure within the metal, and that can either make it softer or harder, or a few other things besides. And my understanding of it is it will probably make this pan harder, and that will reduce the amount of wear on it. I'm not going to be quenching it in water. Now, quenching is rapid cooling in something. Now, normally if you're going to make a knife, you do it in oil. You can do it in water, but doing it in water is fickle. The biggest problem is that when you quench in water, it will change the grain structure and it'll make the particles quite large, and this will make the pan brittle. It'll make it very hard, but it'll make it very brittle. And that means that just by throwing it on the ground, you could break it. Alright, it's time to put this in. We only want to put the inside in because the outside doesn't really matter, and we're going to watch the outside for it to turn blue. Obviously you don't want the fire so hot that it's going to warp your pan or melt through it. That's probably the #1 tip. I'm going to use the edge here, and we're just going to put it in basically maybe a half to a quarter of a ton. I've only got a 12-inch pan, so here we go. I'm going to watch for it to go blue. Pan's done. We're just going to take it out. We're going to put it somewhere that it can harmonize and just come back to ambient temperature without rapidly cooling, and this should leave a nice fine grain structure and the steel be nice and hard, and we should have a pan ready to get out in the creek, find some gold. We've done a whole lot of talking about pans, now I want to talk to you about the gold. Today the creek I'm working has popped up in my research online and from people who have far more prospecting experience than I. All the research that I've done, all the people have told me the same thing. There was an illegal mine set up in the 1930s and I spent a little bit of time out there looking for it, and in fact I found it. Now it's pretty cool to go there and see the government shut it down really quick, and they filled it with broken glass of all things to stop the people going in there and working the gold. They were rumoured to be pulling out pea-sized bits of gold. Now I'm at the other end where that mine was for one simple reason: the blackberries. The blackberries were so dense I couldn't get anywhere near the creek to even try to pan. So I've come down to the other end where it deposits itself into the creek that's behind me, and what we're going to do is we're going to work our way back up. I won't be able to go overly far because it does hook into a lot of farmland at one point, so we'll just do as much as we can. I do reckon we'll find some gold though, because there's gold in this creek. I have worked the very entryway to the creek depositing into this one and have found some gold. So we know it's there, we just don't know how much or what type. This bucket of dirt. Now this bucket of dirt is something very special. About 10 months ago or so, I went to a little creek that had a lot of potential and I found actually a decent amount of gold on it, and this was from a little dry tributary, a little dry string creek that came off it, and I basically scraped the dirt off the bedrock and put it in a bucket, and I never worked it at all, even though the creek that's right next to it, maybe 10 meters away, I found some really chunky gold. And to kick this off, that little string creek actually ran through about 3 piles of pay dirt that had been stockpiled and left by the old timers. So I reckon there's going to be gold in there. We've just got to find out. It's been long enough. We're going to pan it. We're going to christen the metal pan with some pay dirt. We're about to find out what I have been sitting on for about 10 months. Holy hell! Wow! I'm going back to this spot, and I'm going to make a video on it because look at this. That's bloody exciting, isn't it? That's amazing. I can't believe I left that for 10 months. I hope the rest of my pans are that good. Alright, without further ado, this has been a great morning. We'll go put that fire out and then we're going to go up the creek. Last week I was out with Michael on Sunday, and I had a really big fall. I was filming with the drone and I fell over onto bedrock on my knee and both my elbows, and felt like I damn near broke my arm. I'm really suffering still, like over a week later. So going nice and slow today. Here we are, this is the main creek. You can see some people's high banker piles here, and as we come around we've got this little tributary that joins in. Now this tributary is the one that I want to go and explore. I have done some test pans in and around this area here where someone's had a really red hot crack at high banking, and I found some okay gold. When I came back further up here, I went up to, there's a bit of bedrock sitting about there, and I scratched out some gold from that bit of bedrock. So I know that there's definitely gold on this creek. But can I find it with a metal pan? Yeah, I'm pretty sure I can. It's often the most benign little places that hold gold. I've just seen some gravel packed in along this sort of horizontal shelf. Now it's behind some big rocks. There could be some potential for some gold to be hiding in that crack. What I'll do is I'll scratch it out with both a scraper and then my yabby pump, and we'll see if we get any gold out of it. I think that is a good place to start. We've got lots of bedrock. Other people clearly have been working here, which is a good indication that there's gold. There's even a little high banker pile just over here. Massive shout out to one of my subscribers, Wayne. Wayne hooked me up when I put a call out on Facebook for a new collar and tags for Grizzly, because his collar's mank yaz. It's traveled thousands of kilometers and he's put a good bit of wear on it, and the tags are unreadable. So Wayne sent me new dog tags for not just Grizzly but all three of my puppers, and he sent me some amazing crevicing tools with custom, these are absolutely sick. I want to do a whole video on these that will be coming up, but basically amazing work, Wayne. Cheers, mate. This pan is amazing. I'm actually loving this. I'll explain a bit about what's going on with the feel of it later. Let's just find out if we've got any gold first. We've got tons of black sand. Got a little, probably a citrine sitting up the top there. Yeah, a shotgun pellet. Got 2 shotgun pellets. Oh, I see a bit of gold. Oh, there you go. So we've got 1 shotgun pellet, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 little dots of gold in this pan. That, the first bit of legitimate gold this pan has ever got. That is awesome. It's trapping heavy things. We've got 2 more shotgun pellets and 1 tiny speck of gold, but not what we're after. We're going to change crevices. We're going to keep looking. Why not? I've done 2 pans out of that hole to see what was there, and I found a little bit more micro gold, but nothing overly much. You can even see the person's boot print that worked this last. So instead I'm going to try and find somewhere that they haven't worked. Now that could prove very difficult for many and varying reasons. I think that these crevices in here might be worth a bit of a scratch out. We've got a few. They've definitely been like somewhat worked, but I don't think this one's been touched at all. There's a nice tight little crevice that goes all the way down there, and we could find it. We could find some gold here.
Well, this wasn't much of a crevice. You can see it's more of a cut than a crack, but there is a very, very fine crack running down there. You can see it really well just here. And that little crack was jam-packed full of gravel. When I got down here, this looked like bedrock. It was that hard, and I managed to scrape that stuff out of it. So this hasn't been touched in an extremely long time. Now we've got all that dirt in my pan, not all that pan in my pan, all the dirt in my pan. And hopefully we'll have some gold as well. I found a good bit of gold and so much black sand. Look at that bit of gold. It's very, very flat, but it looks absolutely stunning. We got a lot of black sand as well in there. That was well worth scratching out that crack. I'm going to clean it out properly, make sure it's all done, but there you go. That's a beautiful bit of gold. Before I clean out the rest of the crack below my butt, I just wanted to say something about the metal pan. It's awesome. It's really speaking to my purest heart. It's amazing that these things found so much gold back in the day. They got it right the first time. You know, I've used a lot of pans. My favorite pan currently is my Minelab Pro pan. Lots of ripples, very easy to use, very light. It feels like the right base diameter for my style of panning. But it's much like when I was coaching archery, where I was using very high-tech bows. There's no feel to it. There's no I'm doing this. I'm actually out here gold prospecting, or in archery case, I'm out here shooting a bow. This gives me that sensation that a wooden bow gives me, and this is what this gives you. It gives you this, oh yes, I am gold prospecting. I'm legitimately doing it the same way the old timers did it. If I had this in a rocker box, I don't think I'd ever go home. I better not ever combine that combination of prospecting equipment bits, because I'd be in trouble by Zoe. Zoe would be like, where are you? And I'll be like, yeah, ha, ha, ha. So I've pretty well cleaned that top section off. I got more dirt out of here. It kept breaking back. I could probably even push it back a little bit further. This area is not clean completely. This popped up lots of roots and stuff that if there is going to be gold, those roots are going to hold on to it. And then we've got these cracks, and just it keeps going and going and going. So anyway, let's do this pan. Definitely not as good as the first crack. You can see some gold there. We've got about 5 or 6 alright little specks, but nothing huge. Absolutely nothing huge like the last time. That's okay. This means that there's gold on the creek though. I've found one really nice bit of gold, and I found consistent small bits, and we are at the very tail end from where the hard rock mines are, which means that if we can get in through those blackberries, the chance of chunkier gold up further is very real. I spent a little bit of time cleaning the rest of this up. I got about a quarter pan's worth of dirt, panned it off, and I got 2 golds. And I'm sort of at my limit of what I can do in this area, because that's a farmer's fence. Now in Australia, Crown land, which includes all creek systems, can be accessed by the general public, but good luck trying to explain that to a farmer with a shotgun. I don't think that's worthwhile, and you don't know what kind of cattle they got on there, and I've got Grizzly Puppy with me. This is the gold that I pulled off this creek, plus a little bit that I got from the bucket at the start. So probably a 50-50 mix, including the big chunk that I pulled off this creek. However, Now I can't go and find any more gold. This spot's pretty tapped out. It's clearly been worked quite heavily, and I've been stopped by that fence behind me, which means I've got to go seek permission from the farmer so I don't get shot, and so I can go find some more of that beautiful gold that we now know is lying on this creek. I've had a blast using this pan so far today, and I don't want to stop. So I'm going to take you to another creek that I know has got gold, and we're going to keep going. Changed creeks to a beautiful new spot that I know has gold that we're hopefully going to find some more of, and I picked up Michael. Well, we pulled a shotgun pellet and what looks like an amazingly large bit of gold out of that water. That is amazing. Let me just double check that that's gold and not pyrite. This is the piece de resistance. That is a bit of gold bordering on quartz. Like it's literally wrapping its whole, it's like a coating, like painting on quartz, and it's actually cutting its way through that rock. That is an amazing specimen. For the first pan off the top, that is absolutely just stonking. What are the chances of that? Keeping that bit safe. In a future episode of Vo-Gus Prospecting, I'm going to be looking for an apprentice to join me for a day out on the creek. This will be to do with learning to read creeks and a few other things like that. There's more information on it in the description below. If you want to apply, please carefully read what is in the description and send me an email pertaining to everything else that's down there. It's very important that you fit the criteria for basically practical reasons to do with filming and whatnot. And I hope to hear from as many of you that can apply as possible. That's what I'm talking about. Well guys, I am almost out of battery and almost out of memory cards, so I'm going to call it quits for filming for today. I'm going to keep working though. I'm going to see if I can't find a little bit more gold on this creek, and I'm going to show you all that gold right after this. You know, I started today taking a step back in time using a metal pan, and there's something very nostalgic about it and something that gives you, like I said earlier, the good feels. And I implore everyone who has ever set forth on a creek to gold pan to actually try it. You don't need the fanciest pans to do it. You look at what Michael's got over there, which is a gold claw pan, and it's a very, very good, very precise bit of equipment, but it is still based off very similar principles to the metal pan that I was using today. And it just goes to show you that they had it right. They had it right from day one. Yeah, it doesn't have riffles in it, but you don't need them. If you're panning correctly, you don't need riffles. They're just there as an extra safety measure. And I wanted to touch briefly on just one other thing, which is, you know, this first season was meant to be about mateship, and one of the things that I've managed to do so far has really been good. I've had Michael out in the creek, I've had Steve out in the creek, I've done one on Grizzly, and today you might notice that there's no one new around. That's because I wanted to concentrate on a relationship that is probably your #1 relationship that you'll ever have, which is the relationship you have with yourself. It sounds stupid, but you are the only person that you ever have to live with. You don't have to live with anyone else in this world. And in your deepest, darkest moments, as someone like myself who's dealing with mental illness, to have compassion for yourself and to have a caring manner and whatnot is really important. So you do have to have a form of mateship with yourself, and it's something I wanted to explore today. I started today out by coming out and trying something brand new, which normally sets all my anxiety and everything else off, and I got through it and I had an absolute blast doing it. I've been getting a huge influx of messages both on my Facebook account, on my email, and on YouTube, comments and everything else, and I'm not fully able to keep up with the replies to them all. So if you do write me something, I do read absolutely everything and I love getting them. Please don't stop, but you might not get a reply because I am super busy with trying to get, you know, these hands to type back to 1,000 replies a day. It doesn't work. They're not that quick. They're really not. At the end of the day, thank you very much for watching my video. I hope you enjoyed it. Remember to check out the rest of my channel because there's a whole lot of videos there that might just blow your skirt up. There's also 3 episodes of season 1 preceding this one, so go and have a look at them. As I said before, thank you very much for watching. Grizzly's asleep. Peace, and I'm out. Me sunnies, they're ruined. All the coating came off them. Damn it.